Alright, hello, welcome to Myaar's defending tutorial. So we've gone a bit further from the goalkeeper, now we're going to defending. Don't know if I'm going to do midfield, don't know if I'm going to do attack. We'll see on what happens with that. I'll try and be quick, try to be very brief. So I want to give a special thanks to Cbot for helping me rewrite the document. Give me lots of advice and stuff on what to write. A few other people in the iOS lobby. I think Robbie Farrer is one of them. From a few people, Willie Chateau and such. So yeah, all very good. So I compiled a document about my defending guide, I guess. Mostly geared towards new players, but it's got some extra stuff in there as well for a bit more intermediate people. But with defending, it's so situational, and there's so many different playstyles. I can cover everything, and you're probably going to disagree with some things in this. You're probably going to agree with some things. It's relative, but the basis is it should work as a good guide if you're new to defending in football in general, and IOSoccer especially. So yeah, hopefully it helps. If it doesn't, go fuck yourself, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it is what it is. Okay, anyway. So, just like the goalkeeper tutorial, I think I'll start off by talking about mentality. Because just as important as a defender that you don't lose your head and that you have the right mentality going into it. Because, you're the last line defense before the goalkeeper. And if you lose your head, you start making silly mistakes. It's just going to lead to goals, and you're going to lose. So, general rule. Sorry if it sounds like I'm reading. It's because I am reading the guide, basically, to help me get my thoughts. And then I've got a tactical board to help out if need be. So, I'd say, similar to goalkeeper, if you make a mistake, it will likely lead to a goal. So the stakes are higher than, up the pitch. One little rush from you or a slow reaction could lead to a goal. So it's, imperative that you stay calm and focused and aware of your surroundings. And Cbot says, in reference to that, awareness is one of the most important attributes for any defender. Being able to make reads of the opponent and stay one step ahead is crucial. Mental attributes are extremely important and something that gets undervalued a lot. So, you don't downplay it. Being mentally prepared, being mentally strong, untiltable is very important. Being able to read people and play the mental game is just as much important as the mechanical skill. So I'll say realistically, you can't always stop the attacker. If they're brilliant attacker, they'll get past you eventually. If they keep trying and trying, they might fool you once or twice. So instead, the aim should be to make it as hard as possible for them to get close and get a high quality shot off and score. I think in a similar way to how I think about goalkeeper, it's about risk management. You're trying to reduce the risk of them having a good chance at scoring. Because let's say if you stop them from coming in the box, which is priority, you don't want them in the middle V, then you are granting them space in the wing potentially to get a cross off, and if they get a good cross off and somebody wins a header, it's just unavoidable really. But because if you did the counter and you press up and get close to them, they might just beat you and then cut inside and then they get a goal there. So it's it's about risk management, trying to reduce the high quality shots basically. And so I tried to go with the Sean Dyker Burnley V, as he says. So it's you don't want them in the box. You especially don't want them here. In the centre of the goal, because they've got the whole goal to shoot at. It's much easier to shoot at. You want to keep them out of the box, basically. Keep them to the sides, keep them to the wings, keep them out of the area. Is the goal, really. Rather than just trying to box them and win the ball from the feet all the time, because if you're too close to a good attacker, they'll use your body movement against you. You know, if I'm the winger and I'm now the defender and I'm up against him really close, he can suddenly turn away, spin the ball away, and then I've shot off a little bit because I'm boxing him, and then he's through. He's through on goal. You know, left me in the dust. Much like in real life, how you'll see players get dropped, or in basketball ankle breakers and stuff. It's all about using the defender's movement against them. Because as a defender, you're trying to predict and react to what the attacker does. So if the attack is good enough, they can fake you into a movement that is the right movement to do. But then if they spin back, you're off balance. You know, you've lost it for a second, and they're away with it. So if you're up close with them, it's a lot harder to react than if you've got a little bit of distance between you and them. So Cbot says, number one priority of the defender is to stop the opponent scoring. If the opportunity arises to make a tackle, it should 100% be taken. So if they made a little mistake, and they've let the ball a little loose out of their touch, go in for it. Then absolutely rush in for it. As a defender, your goal is to be able to make good reads of the opponents and force them into bad situations, or force them to make bad decisions. I think I saw something the other day about, when it comes to defending, you're not supposed to win every ball, necessarily. You're not supposed to win every tackle with them all the time, but you're supposed to make them think that you can win every tackle. So it's about getting in their head and knocking their confidence a bit, so that they do play a little bit safer, or you calm them down, I guess. Keep them guessing, because they think, oh, I can't actually be cheeky and just dribble you, because you actually are going to go in for the tackle when they make a mistake and stuff. So it causes them to get in their head a bit. Makes it much tougher for them. Makes it much less likely that they're just going to try and dribble at you. Sorry, I'm a bit sick at the moment. So yeah, being able to take control of a defensive situation and force it to play out the way you want is key to a good defender. It also depends on how the team is set up to play. Defending is a team effort. Some teams prefer a high line with extreme pressing to force mistakes. So that's like, if you think about Liverpool when they were in their prime, they'd play a really, really high offside line, and then all of the midfield and the attackers would be pressing in the middle to win the ball back as quickly as they can, because there's less space on the pitch because they've cut it in half. But then you get teams that want to play a bit of a deeper line, so it's harder for you to break them down. So, maybe it's like a Burnley, or one of those Atletico Madrids or something, where they're all very far back up the pitch, and they've given you lots of space on the pitch, but they're all so far back, so you can't just get in behind them, you can't run in behind them, which is the weakness to a high line, for instance. But yeah, each strategy has its own pros and cons. There's a strengths and weaknesses to anything when it comes to this. That's why the game is so beautiful in some ways, is because you can try all sorts of different combinations of movements and strategies, and have your own play style. And there'll be good things about it, there'll be bad things about it, but as long as you make it your own, that's what matters, I guess. Hang on then. So, in terms of types of defending, now, bear in mind this is for basics, really. Obviously there's going to be some interchange with what I'm saying and what is actually right, but so M1, if you hold mouse 1, left click, it makes collision. So if you do slide tackle, which is Alt by default, and you're not holding M1, the ball's just going to go through you. It's just going to go through. But if you're holding it, then it deflects off you, obviously. So you want to hold M1 if you want to block the ball from moving through your model, basically. And M2 shoots the ball, passing and whatnot. Charge and you charge it, the little bar at the bottom. You charge and right click M2, and then you let go, and it shoots it basically. And this is commonly called woofing. So if I'm the attacker and I'm dribbling up here, you can come up to me and you can try and hold left click M1 and try and like take the ball out of my box and then dribble it away. Or the safer option usually is to just, especially if they're in the box, you don't want to take the risk. You just charge up that right click, aim up or aim away, and fucking launch it. Just boot it out their feet. And there's nothing they can do about that really. But obviously you're giving the ball away, so it's a bit risky in that sense. On top of that, woofing, right click charging, M2 charging, it also has an added bonus of tilting attackers. Because, you know, if you M1, it's a bit more skill to it, and they're like, oh, I can get past, I can get a rebound. But if you just right click charge and boot it, then they're going to struggle a lot more to get past you without you just booting it out their feet. And it can really, really get on some players' nerves and absolutely ruin their day. So, do recommend it, to be fair. Especially against the better dribblers. Or the bigger boxes. Yeah, so if we're talking about M1 defending, so in general, you want to be looking at the attacker to track them better. So if the attacker's here, then you want to be looking at him like this. You don't want to be looking that way when he's here, and you don't want to be looking that way when he's here. You want to be looking at him so you can track his movements better and follow him along a bit closer and adapt. Because a big part of defending, especially in real life, is our body positioning, so that you can be ready to react and move appropriately. What else have we got here? Oh yeah, so if we're talking about you're in a box battle, so you're running alongside them. So I'm the attacker, and then I'm here as a defender as well. And you're holding mouse 1. You don't want to just be looking right at them whilst you do it, because if you win the M1, boom, you fling it back into them, and then they get it back at their feet, and then they can just get past, or you get some dodgy rebounds. So really, what you want to be doing is, you want to be looking to the side or something so you can take it away and drag it further away from out of their box. So let's see if I can figure that. So, you've got this guy, he's attacking like this, and he's not protecting the ball at all. And then I'm here as a defender. So, I'm the defender, this guy's dribbling. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to turn, and I'm going to hold M1, and it's going to put the ball there. So now he's here, I'm here, and the ball is here. So he's got to go through me to get it back. So I've redirected it, so it's about, you hook it, so you get it in your circle, you hold M1, and you turn it away. And then you've stolen the ball, basically. I wish I could show it clearer, but I don't have another teammate to help me here, so you're just going to have to imagine it, I guess. But yeah, the goal is to take it out their box, So you obtain it in your circle, and you direct it away from where they are, where their box is, so they can't reach it anymore. So Cbot says, defending with M1 provides more benefit because you retain possession of the ball. But as mentioned, it's not foolproof, and often enough, if you're not careful, you can easily be dispossessed again. Recommendation is to turn away as soon as you have the ball, as this will reduce the chance of this happening. So he's talking about, if you get the box, if they're here and then you've got the ball and you quickly see it's on the edge of my box, and I flick it away. Now they've got, they're here, the ball's there, and I'm here. They're not going to be able to get to that, and they're not going to get a lucky rebound and get the ball back because I'm looking at them. And with M2, which is a charging woofing, It's much safer, and 99% of the time it will result in a clean tackle. Like 99%, if you whiff, it'll work. You'll boot it out of them easily. There won't be any dodgy rebounds. They'll lose the ball. But the downside is, obviously, if you're not able to aim it to a teammate or something, then that ball's just gone out and they've got it back. So they've still got possession of the ball, but you did stop the attack, but they've still got it again, so they could go again. And you can't really attack if you've not got the ball, can you? I mean, you literally can't. So, mostly you want to be woofing when you're right-click charging when you're inside the box, because you can't take risks when you're inside the box. It's all about just getting it out completely, because this is a high risk area where they're going to score. If they can find a little gap, they can shoot. So you don't want them to have the ball in this box. So you just boot it out if you need, even if it's out to the throw in or whatever, or out for a corner. You got to clear it. You can't be dribbling around with it. That's the biggest mistake anybody makes, is that they are defending in the box and the attacker's in the box, and then let me just steal it away, and then they do a little dribble, and then the attacker gets it back and scores. Just don't take risks when you're in the box. Just boot it away. Simple as. Proper Brexit, that. Yeah, and obviously whether you use M1 or M2 more, it's down to preference and how much risk you want to take, basically. If you're Cbot, he could probably use M1 99% of the time, because he's that good. He'll just win the ball back and not let them get it back. But if you're a new player and you're facing really good dribbler, just M2 charge it, boot it out, be safe, Better safe than sorry. Right, so we're going to talk about offside really briefly, and we're going to explain what it is. Here, I'll do the thingy on the diagram. Okay. So, let's say we've got the attacker here. He's got the ball. We've got his winger here. This is the line. This is the offside line, because this is the last defender before the goalkeeper. If this guy is behind the last defender when his teammate passes to him, he's offside and it doesn't count. If he's aligned with them and it passes to him and then he gets ahead or whatever, that's onside. So you want to keep a straight line. Otherwise, let's say this guy is trying to keep the offside line straight, and then for some reason this fullback is a little bit back, a little bit further back, which means that this guy can run in behind and he can get the pass off. Or this guy who thinks that he's got it straight, he doesn't realise his fullback is behind them, thinks, oh, this guy's offside because me and him, we've kept it a straight line, but really it's not, because his fullback's let him down there and it's not offside. There's a lot more to offside, but it's so complicated. Google it. If you don't know what offside is, just Google it. So in general, you want to keep a straight line with your CB, or whoever the furthest back defender or attacker with the ball is, because it's set by where the ball is, basically, as well. If the attacker's here, this is the new offside line, even though the defender's here. It's aligned with the ball. And some people recommend never to play an offside line and to just play a bit deeper. So let's say, instead of playing like a high offside line, where you've got these attackers and whatnot, instead of doing this, where you've got now you've got a space behind them for somebody to run behind, and with a good time to pass, and then they get the ball and score. Some people would just prefer to be following their defender, following their attacker. So if this attacker's making the run, he's already broken the offside line, so that they can make the pass if they want, but there's still a defender in the way, basically. And I'll say in general, don't try to dribble the ball too much in defence. passing is much more useful. Like I've seen so many times. Let's say you're the fullback here. I've seen so many times the fullback just run all the way here when his winger is here, his right winger is here in this space. Pass me, and this fullback instead has decided to run past his winger when he could have instead saved a lot of stamina, saved a lot of time, passed it instantly to his winger. His winger can then collect the ball and do something, maybe even go inside. And then, you can keep going, you overlap, and then maybe he gives it back to you. There's all sorts of crazy things that can happen there. But it's not going to happen if you're wasting the time by running into a space that's already occupied, and it's just silly business, okay? As defenders, we don't need to dribble as much, okay? You just be better at passing. That's more important. And then if in doubt, let's say you're being pressured as a defender, can't find a good pass anywhere. You can't pass back to the keeper. You can't pass back to the other defenders or anything. Just you can try a little dribble maybe and see if any space opens up, or you can hold the ball and you can wait for some good runs and stuff from the other players to get free. Or you can pass back to the goalkeeper if you trust them. Maybe aim a bit slightly off to the side. Or if you're truly in doubt and there's no opportunity and you're going to lose the ball, just kick it out, Better safe than sorry, especially as a defender. But be careful if you're passing back to the goalkeeper, because you don't want to be shooting back at the goalkeeper, obviously, If you full power it maybe, but you can aim to the side so you don't ungoal it, or just light power it and let your keeper take care of it. Just don't fucking shoot it at them. it's how you score goals, and own goals are not very nice. So when it comes to keeping an offside line, keeping a good line is incredibly important. It deters dangerous runs in behind it from the attackers and allows the defenders to defend together, as opposed to being exposed individually. Playing offside traps or not is generally down to the team in question and how they set up. For instance, somebody like Cbot, he doesn't like playing offsides. So, if he's, let's put this here. This number 2, this is Cbot. Okay, Cbot and his teammates. Well, this is the offside line they've created. But let's say his attacker, his CF, starts making a run. Instead of holding the line and just hoping that he's offside when his teammate passes to him, Cbot will run with him and break the offside lines, which means that now this can get deeper if the fullback doesn't do the same, but it stops good timed runs basically from just happening and getting in. But somebody like Chucky, for instance, he does like playing offsides, so he likes playing a little offside trap. He won't waste the stamina. He'll stand here, let you run past, because he knows his team are going to keep an offside line, and then you're offside, you've wasted time, but etc. But yeah. Cbot says, dribbling in defence is not ideal. However, sometimes it is required, particularly when the CB is one of the main dictators of the play. This goes back to the mentality aspect and having a good understanding of the game and tempo, like knowing when the game needs to be sped up or slowed down, etc. So, Cbot, for instance, he will probably dribble more when he's in defence because he's confident. He knows he's not going to lose the ball. He's able to get past attackers and stuff. He knows when to pass it. He can always pass it back and stuff. So he's secure, and he's not afraid to do a little bit of dribbling up the pitch. Much like Joel Matip from Liverpool, if you've seen him, where he will often do like an actual dribble up the pitch all the way up here, which means that the other defenders on the other team have to go to him, and then they leave a man unmarked, or it creates more space because he's done a dribble as an extra man. But if the CB is going forward, somebody should cover him. There should be some sort of cover, CM back there, or at least 3 people at the back, maybe 2 people at the back at least, just so you've not made a massive hole, And you don't do any silly dribbles. Don't get too cocky, because that's how things go wrong. Just try and keep it subdued and do it at the right times. But you sort of learn that as you play more. So he says this also falls into the bracket of how the team sets up. and who they want controlling the flow of the game. Just as an example, with NG, the CV probably saw more of the ball than any other player, and generally was required to set plays for the team. Whereas in Genesis, this is not so much the case, and we tried to play fast on the attack, and as a result, he probably saw less of the ball at CB, only speaking from his experience. These are, of course, extreme examples for new players, but it is what they should be aiming for. One quick note on the back passes, so he's talking about passing to the goalkeeper, is that it is a good idea because, not only can the keeper see the whole pitch, so they can quickly redistribute to the other side of the pitch, etc., or they can hold the ball without much pressure because nobody's usually marking the goalkeeper. So they've got a bit of space and time. He says it's a good idea, but yeah, don't pass it straight at the goal. Maybe aim a little bit to the side, just so that if the goalie does miss it or they lag out or something, or your pass is too powerful, at least then it goes out for a corner instead of in the goal. So yeah. And I say for new defenders, as a tip, I think it's quite common to want to be very aggressive and always try to tackle the attacker and win the ball, then launch an attack by dribbling, etc. Just like new defenders, especially new players, especially in general, always want to be doing more. They feel they've got something to prove, I guess, and they want to be. It's a bit boring to sit around and wait for your attacker to do stuff. You want to be, let me go in, let me steal the ball from him, etc. But the more aggressive you are, the more risky it can be, especially if you're not as good mechanically. And like I said about momentum earlier, if you're being super aggressive and rushing to the attacker and taking them on, and he spins and turns you, then you've gone forward and he's gone past you. It's very risky. I'd say if you're a new defender especially, I'd say it's wrong. I'd say you've got to play a bit more passive. So, when I say that, for instance, I'm talking about playing maybe with a meter or 1 square distance from the attacker. So this is the attacker here. This is the winger, and I'm defending him. He's got the ball there. See how there's a square here. Aleem in his video says it's like a square and a half. So about this distance is how much distance you should keep from them as you're both running back, making sure you've got this much distance. I'd say you can go a bit closer, just as long as you react properly. It gives you enough time to react, enough space to move and stop them and slow them if you're further away from them, and they can't obviously turn quickly and dribble you and send you across because you're still quite close, but you're also not too far away. You've got a bit of distance, a bit of a buffer zone for you to react in time. And I say, yeah, obviously you don't always have to adhere to the offside line. Moreover, instead of trying to tackle the player of M1, I say if you're, and this is again we're talking about newer players especially, because I don't want you to be so aggressive. I want you to be a bit more passive. So talk about charging M2 and whiffing the ball more often rather than trying to steal the ball and dribble it away and keep possession. It might just be safer to just keep a meter and a half, a square and a half distance, and then charge the ball and boot it out if they get close enough. Or try and boot it ideally to a teammate if you can, because you can start a quick attack with that. And because M1 can lead to box battles, and someone's got better internet, etc., better positioning. They might win it. A bit of luck, they might win it. With M2, they're not going to win the ball. It's out. It's lost out their feet. They have to do the attack again. It's a lot safer. And with M2, it doesn't matter how good their box is. If the ball enters your zone, your little circle, and you charge it and you kick it, it's gone, and the attack slow down, basically. And Cbot says, for new players, I'd 100% suggest playing a safe route as described. However, as the players begin to develop, they can modify their style to fit how they prefer to play the game. For example, Cbot is known as one of the most aggressive defenders in the game, and he'll regularly press the attacker into their own half. So, let's say this is let me fucking move people about. Right, this is Cbot now. Okay, I've got the attacker here, right, and the Reds are the attacking team now. And they've got their ball. Cbot will follow his CF all the way here, leaving behind this offside line that they've created at the halfway, leaving the space in behind, but he doesn't care because he moves up and he'll take the guy on, and he'll have a battle with them and not even letting them pass the halfway line. Never mind, like he denies them as much space as possible. And I'd say this approach is fun. It's a proper battle, but it's definitely not recommended for beginners because, you know. But as you begin to develop, as you begin to get better as a player and understand more about defending and be better mechanically, you can adapt yourself to the same mentality that he has, and play like that if you want to be a bit more aggressive. I'd say for me, real mode of defending we should strive for is in between passive and aggressive, a nice balanced approach. So, as I think of, and again, sorry about the Liverpool examples, I'm a Liverpool fan, so, and also he's the best defender in the world. So, Virgil van Dijk, think about him. Often mocked for his aura defending, passive defending, where he stood there and he doesn't go in for the tackle. But him standing here means that you can't go there; you have to go around him. But he'll let you have the ball. He'll let you stand here, and you could even stand here and do this, do some Anthony step overs or whatever, do spin moves. And he'll stand there and watch, and that's okay. But other defenders, aggressive defenders would instead, and people tell him off for this, say, why doesn't he go in for the tackle? They could just slide in or go up and approach them. But if you do that, you're opening up to being like outdone. If you're claiming the space and denying them of the space, it's a lot harder for an attacker than if you're coming into their space that they've occupied and trying to take it away from them, because then they can just move the space and move around you and maybe beat you. So I'd say, yeah, to be the best, you have to be able to do both and blend them properly. And this comes from game sense and defensive awareness that I can't really teach you, because it's something that you learn and develop yourself and understand your own style yourself. But it's essentially knowing when to be passive, so when to just stand there and let them sort of have the space and keep a little distance, and when to be aggressive and to go in for the tackle and try and steal the ball, which is, it's just something that you know intuitively from playing and understanding. And I'd say, yeah, the goal, in my opinion, as a defender, and this is kind of mostly from a keeper's perspective, to be fair, is to keep the attacker out of the dangerous area. So keep them out of the box, and keep them out of the V, which the V is like this section. Can I draw lines? I can indeed. If you keep them out of this center area, and then they can only shoot from here and here and here and here, these shots are a lot easier to save than shooting from the middle. Those are a lot easier for them to go in, basically. Let's delete all those lines. Yeah, so keep them out the V. Force them wide. Force them to make crosses instead of being able to shoot. Because it's much preferred to concede a cross than to be, than to let them score through in the middle of the box to just shoot. You'd much rather them to have to cross it in, and then they have to beat your other defenders to the header, and then they have to beat your keeper, rather than them just walking in and shooting, and then basically only being against your keeper. So avoid direct shots if you can. Right. Okay, this video is getting really long now, so I'm just gonna read from the script a bit more. Okay, not as much demonstration on screen. Right, you're just gonna have to listen. Right. So I'm gonna talk about stamina management. One way to keep an advantage over the attackers is to win the stamina battle. In this game, everyone has even stamina, so everybody's got the same amount. But if you think about the distance for a minute, the attacker usually must be slightly further from your goal than you, or they'll be offside. So quick demonstration of that. Here's the attacker, number 7, with the ball, and he's collected it here. And here's your defender at the halfway line. This little distance, that's extra distance for them to get to the goal. If he runs, and he runs at the same time, he only gets there, and your defender gets to the goal line. So he uses more stamina to get to the goal line than your defender does, basically. To sum that up. So as long as you keep your run straightish or diagonal to the goal without moving left and right and zigzagging around, like they have to in order to get past with their dribbles, because if they're dribbling, they can't just run straight at you. They have to go left and they have to go right, and they have to sort of swerve you to get past. But if you're just running back whilst they're going left and right, then you're saving a lot more stamina than they are, because they're having to travel more distance to get to the goal. And then if you've got that little extra stamina, that means you've got you get that extra burst of speed to do an effective tackle or slow them down. So, you know, we've both been running. He's running all this way. I'm running backwards to defend. And he's now quite low on stamina, but I've got a little bit more, so I can go in a bit more aggressive and force the ball out of his hands, because he can't move as much, basically. And you force a pass more likely. And Cbot says, while this is correct, there will come a time in any 1v1 that you have to take action. You cannot just shadow them all the way to the penalty spot. As mentioned above, it is about keeping them out of the box. That's why it's important to keep a good position and to have a good read of the opponent and take control of the situation. So to sum it up for me, in this stamina stuff, don't waste your stamina running. You can keep some distance and let them run towards you, and waste their stamina running left and right, trying to get past you. But as long as you're going backwards towards your goal, you will win the stamina battle. And see what it says. It's also worth noting that if you spot an opportunity to make a tackle, you should take it. You want to force a mistake, and when they do, it's important you capitalize. So, you know, if you do see them accidentally drop the ball a bit further from their box than they like, or, you know, maybe they run out of stamina or something, you should go in and try and take that ball. Try and make that tackle, be a bit aggressive. Because you can win the ball back in those situations. That's what it's about. It's about, it's about watching the attacker, forcing them to make more mistakes, and then you taking the ball and capitalizing off that mistake. So, zonal working, okay, and defending as a team. I'm going to be briefly talking about the strategies that I sort of tried to employ at Alcatraz, which is my minus Lombi's beginner team, basically, full of newer players and whatnot, and how we used to try and defend, basically, as a team. So, the way I saw it was, I want the whole team to defend, basically. So, the defenders contain the attackers. So they hold S, and they don't run towards the attack and try and take them on and be aggressive. They play passive, they whiff, and they hold the attackers back. And so let's say I'm the fullback. This is what I'm doing. I'm the fullback here, and I'm holding the attacker, and I'm running backwards whilst he's running forwards. But I'm not going boom boom boom. You know, I'm not fighting him. I'm just denying him the space, not letting him closer to the V, to the V. I'm just keeping him out of the V, but I'm not getting up close to him. And then, whilst I'm doing that, my winger will come, and he'll take the ball, and we'll 2v1, and we'll take the ball, and then we can repossess and begin again. We can pass the ball back to keeper and start our own attack, basically. Because when it comes to pressing in general, that's what it's about. It's about having somebody that contains. So this guy here, this defender, he's here. He's blocked off this movement. So the attacker can't go here, he can't go here, he can't go here, he can't go here. And then if this guy comes in, now he can be a bit more aggressive in box battle, and he can fight him and try and force the attacker into this barricade, basically, so that they both do this. He gets squished, and he loses the ball, basically. Downside to doing this stuff with a winger coming all the way back to help defend is that, let's say you do win the ball back now, he's a bit out of stamina, you can't do a quick counter attack because there's not enough people, so then you do have to reset it and slow it down and whatnot. But if done well, you can win the ball with the man advantage that you had. And then if you can pass it properly, or you can hold the ball up for a bit, wait for people to get better stamina and better positions, or you can pass back to the keeper, whatever reset, then you can launch your own attack now that the opponent's attack has been completely stopped. And the reason I like this is because the defender's job becomes a lot easier, a lot simpler. All they have to think about is holding S, so running backwards towards the goal, keeping that 1.5 meter space or so, and then woofing, holding M2, no funny business. Very easy for them, hard for them to make mistakes, so a lot more secure defending. And then the attacking teammate or the CM or the winger can come and just be really aggressive and full on box battle, hold M1, pressure the opponent and try and steal the ball, basically, and make them make mistakes. So it's very simple to play like that. Much preferred for beginners, I think, because of how simple it is. Very easy to understand. And Cbot says, defending as a team is more important than defending as individuals, and it is important to have that mindset early. To be clear, Cbot probably doesn't endorse this style of play, I think, necessarily, with the Alcatraz stuff. It's personal to different teams and such. So if I can explain what zonal marking is versus man marking. Man marking is where each player marks the opposite player. So for instance, you've got... Here, you go back. There we go. You've got the right back defending the left winger. You've got the CB defending the CF. And the left back defending the right winger, basically. And they're all got a person each, 1v1, basically. Which is useful at times, but it's very risky when you get enemy attackers that are clever and they can switch positions on the pitch, because that will break your formation and create gaps for them to exploit. So for example, you've got this left winger here, and CF's got the ball, so he's on here. If this winger then cuts across here, and you're doing man marking, so this guy has to follow here, and this guy goes here or something, and then this guy's here. Now you've got all of this space here that is created. So maybe your CM comes and overlaps or something, or he takes him 1-on-1 and gets through, or it creates problems, especially if then he goes here and now he's having to go through here. Now you've got a free man. Like, it gets very, very confusing if you're just following very directly, man to man, basically. Oh, he's a defender. Put him there. So in most areas, people will use zonal marking instead of man marking. And this is where each player tries to control a quadrant of the pitch. So for instance, so this is the right back. He defends anybody that comes into this space. Centre backs defends anybody that comes into this space, and anybody that comes into this space is the left back. I just realised they're in the wrong spots. There we go. So in theory, let's say this guy's making a move into here. The CB will then drop from his guy here to defend him, and they will sort of condense like this, and then you've got 2 men problem here. But let's say now he goes here. Now it's this guy defending him instead. So they've switched people that they were marking, but they've got their own zones, basically. And the things that can make zonal marking complicated and can cause issues with zonal marking. Are when you have two enemies on your side when you're overloaded. So, for instance, it's fine now. Like, they switched over. They've got their zones. But now let's say, what about if this guy comes here, and now he's in the same zone, and now it's confusing. Now, like, does he mark him? Does he mark him? Where does he go? If this guy goes here, does he mark that one, or does he mark that one? It can get very confusing when there's more overloaded people and stuff. So usually when the enemy fullback or the CM has overlapped into the space on the wide, or that's when it can get a bit confusing for a defender. And also it can get confusing in situations where there's no offside rule applied. So these are things such as throw-ins. If you've got a throw-in, stupid lines. Get rid of these boxes. If you've got a throw-in, he can throw the ball here. He's clearly offside. There's the line, but there's no offsides. So then it gets a bit confusing. Does he go here? Does he go there? Or does he stay with his man? And does he go there? It can get a bit confusing in that sense. So yeah, different styles of zone marking, of man marking. It can be a preference thing as well. So no right answers, no wrong answers when it comes to it. Really, it depends on how a team sets up. So I'll go on to talking about this offside line sort of stuff in a second, a bit more detail. So yeah, briefly, offside rule is offside means that the attacking player is between the last defender and the goal when the ball is passed to them, or received via a deflection of a save, for example. If a defending player passes the ball to the opposition attacker, and they would have been offside, it's not considered offside as the ball was played by the defending player to the attacker. But if the enemy attacker's teammate passed the ball and they're in an offside position, it is offside and a free kick is given. So for instance, what I'm saying there is, here's the defender. This attacker is clearly offside. This defender's decided, you know what, I'm going to pass it back to my goalkeeper, and he gives it straight to the attacker that is offside. But because he's passed it, it's okay, and the attacker can score and it's allowed. But if instead it was the CF, the enemy CF, that passes it to the attacker, it is offside, and then we have a free kick. That's basically what I'm saying there. And the offside line, so where we're keeping the line together as a defence, it's always set by the CB. And the CB usually play a little bit deeper because if the CB makes a mistake, if he does something silly, and he's playing too tight to his attacker, and his attacker gets a line with him, and somebody passes it, or he loses the header, that's it. He's in the space. He's in RV. He's right in the centre of RV, in the dangerous area, in the worst area possible, and that is going to be a goal. There's no doubt about it, because he's 1-on-1 now, and the keeper's going to lose, especially in the centre of the goal. It's just not going to happen. So CB can't afford to make mistakes, so they'll usually play a bit deeper than maybe the rest of the fullbacks. But the point is, they keep the offside the offside line, so your fullback should not be further behind, theoretically, at least. That's if you're trying to play an offside. If not, then it doesn't matter where the CB is necessarily. So there's no offsides on goal kicks. So if they're all here, and you've got CF and all that, and then this right winger's decided to go a little bit cheeky, and he's gone behind. Normally, this would be offside, but because it's from the goal kick from here, goal kicks, boom, booted it here. Now he's got a 1-on-1 because there's no offside on goal kicks. Or if it was from a throw-in, oh, he's offside. We don't care about him. Nope, that's offside. It doesn't matter because it's a throw-in. Throws it to him. He's got a goal, 1-1. So be careful with that. Very easy to fall for those, especially at the lower ranks. So as a defender, if the enemy has a throw-in or a goal kick, you cannot rely on the offside rule to protect you, and you must follow the attacker where they go to prevent them from getting the ball. This is an example of when it may be more effective to use man marking than zonal marking, as it's easier to keep track of players during these moments. It's also a useful rule to remember as a defender when your team has to throw in, as you could potentially throw the ball down the line towards the enemy corner flag, and your attackers could get in behind as enemy defenders and have an easy goal scoring chance. So it's also important to remember this as a defender, because let's say they've booted it out, boom, and then you've got the throw in, and so this guy thinks, oh well, he can't get it anywhere. But then, and they're all pushed up. These are the attacking teams, and then you've got the ball as a defender. Oh, my winger's running in behind down the line. You could throw it, and because even though he's offside, there's no offsides or throw-ins. Now he's got a 1-on-1. So it's important to look for that if you can, because it's always very useful. So you'll see, I'll give another example. You see in IRL teams like Liverpool, they focus on the offside line, keeping a really high line like this. And the advantages and disadvantages of it are, the advantage is you save stamina and you keep a high line, so the area of play, this area, is a lot more compressed. They've not got the attacking team don't have the whole pitch to deal with. They only have this half pitch, which means that things are a bit tighter, everybody's a bit closer, so it's easier for you to press, press as a team and take the ball back. I don't know why I just did that. So yeah, it makes it easy to press, basically. Also, it can make it harder for the enemy attacker to receive the ball, as they need to time their runs better if they want to get in behind. So they need to be actually good at, say he could pass it, but he's got to wait for him to get perfectly timed. Because if he does it when the attacker's just a little bit too far behind, it's offside, and the attack is negated. So they've got to be a bit more clever with timing their runs by going a bit more diagonal and stuff, and being precise. But the risks to this, as you do see with Liverpool and people like this, teams like that, are pretty great, because I've heard certain high level players, Cbot himself, even say that they would rather die than play the offside trap in this game. As I've had to watch many times watching with Liverpool, the offside line, it does compress space in the middle. It does make, have all these cool little advantages. But when you've compressed the space in the middle, you've now left all of this space in behind that they can get the ball into, because now there's no marking this area. It's empty space. So with Liverpool, I often see it. It's where you get your De Bruyne-esque player, and he plays maybe a ball like this. Let me move some zigzags so you can see a bit more. He plays a curved ball over. And so if they're both running, your defender and your winger, the winger's going to get the ball and get in behind maybe. So it's very easy for people to get in behind when it comes to playing an offside line, a high line and stuff. If there's a good timed ball or, a good passer, very, very risky. So yeah, the whole defense could be bypassed, and then they've got all of this area just by one good pass when you're playing with an offside line. And see what it says. As mentioned, it's a stylistic decision, and each has their own pros and cons. Without going into massive comparison on both, one reason Cbot is not fond of the offside trap is in iOS compared to IRL is that there are no recovery benefits in iOS. And what he means is, if your offside trap is beaten IRL, which is obviously bad, of course, you can recover, as generally players are much faster without the ball than they are with it. In iOS, everybody runs at the same speed, so it's not an issue in that sense. You can't recover faster because if the player's got a ball in iOS, they're still running as fast as if they didn't have a ball. So you can be punished a lot more for an offside trap in iOS than you can in real life. But even still, even if you're not playing a high line, generally keep a straight offside line but maybe play a little bit deeper than the halfway line for extra leeway, and to be able to break the offside line that your teammates have set at the right moments. For instance, if you're a left back and you see that the opposite wing is looking to make the pass in behind your space so that the right wing you're marking can get it, then it may be wise to break the offside line slightly early so that you can intercept the ball before your attacker gets to it. So that's saying, this guy's got the ball. You're this guy. This is your marker. You see, he's going. You know what? He's eyeing him up. He's saying, "Hey, look, I'm gonna pass in behind," and you can feel it coming. Then maybe you should start running just a little bit deeper than the offside line, so that you can accommodate if he does try and get the ball there, because you'll be faster, you'll be closer, basically. And I'll say, very important to consider when you're dealing with balls in behind is your body positioning and the way you turn your model. As if you don't do it smooth enough, the attacker who's already facing towards your goal will have a slight advantage over you. This is why it can be good to be half facing the ball and half ready looking to run backwards towards your goal, so that you don't have to turn your view as much and therefore keep as much speed as possible. So I'd say, okay, so here's where one of the attacking players is. He's got the ball there. Here's his teammates. So that's the fullback. That's the right wing. That's the CF. And that's the left wing. And I'm going to be the defender, right? So instead of standing right here, right next to him, I'm going to be a bit closer towards the centre, so I've got space. I'm here. So, one, I can help. If it goes to the CF, I can get here quicker and help. Two, if he shoots it over, tries to do like a diagonal Trent pass across, and he does it too low, I can jump, intercept it, and then take it, and he's fucked. Or if he does get it all the way over, I'm still on the inside, so he gets the ball here to his winger, who's now here, but I'm here, so I'm still covering it basically. And if he is over there, then I want to be positioned, so I'm half turned, so I'm looking towards where he is, so I can see the ball, I can see what's happening there, but then I can also quickly turn my camera and run to where the ball's going to be, which I couldn't do. If I'm looking at my player here, then I can't see the ball, I don't know what's happening. If I'm looking there, which means I can run quickest, which is what your winger can do. Your winger can just run straight forwards, and he's got that little advantage because he doesn't have to do a turn. Then I also can't see the ball, so you kind of need to be looking towards the ball so you can see where it's going to go, and then you quickly turn. And if you don't turn as smoothly, let's say he's passing the ball and you've done a little bit like that and then a little bit like that, you've travelled a bit more distance like this, you've gone that way, which your winger has not done because he's just going forwards to meet the ball. So he gets a little bit extra speed boost on his back. It's basically what I'm saying there. So yeah, I'm saying if you rotate your camera, you're losing like a few milliseconds of distance because of turning the camera, basically. So yeah. So with slide tackles, so don't slide in the box unless you know for sure you can get it, or you're trying to block a shot desperately. So hold M1 or your slide won't work. Tactical foul as long as you aren't the last man if need be. So to do that, you aim right at their legs, hold M1, you slide, you try and take their legs out basically. But don't do that if you're the last man because it'll be a red card instantly. Slides are also very useful for redirecting the ball if you can't reach it. So if you're intercepting a pass, let's say. someone who plays one of those, and you're here, and their enemy winger's here, ready to get it, and you're just a little bit out of reach. You're not gonna get it you're not gonna get it running to it. Then what you can do is you can go and slide, and it will stop the ball from going towards them, basically. But if you mistime it when it comes to a slide tackle, like let's say here it is, and I've done that. I'm paused for a second. I'm on the ground, and he's got time to get past and score a goal, basically. So it's very, very risky to slide tackle at times. Cbot says slide tackles for me are only used in situations to either intercept a pass that I can't reach running, or to block a shot that my model won't block. Typically when I'm side by side of an attacker and I am goal side. And goal side means that you are between the attacker and the goal. So you're here. Like essentially there when the attacker's here. So you're in between the space there. The only other use is to make tactical fouls. And that should be a last resort when you're beaten. But you must be aware that these typically always face a yellow card or red card, so you can only really risk one per game, to use it wisely. Now, with heading and corners and set pieces, so let me set up a header real quick. This is what I do for corners, by the way. Is I align the bottom of my screen with my shoes, and then I charge 2 for first post, and I charge 2.5 or 3 for back post, basically. And so for headers, you wanna charge M2 before the balls come to you, basically. So you full power it. I usually start further back from where I plan for it to land. So I'm standing about here because I think it's going to land in front of me. Or I stand here if I think it's going to go first post, etc. And then I run onto it and head it. Or in this case, I'm defending, so run onto it and head it. And you want to try and be next to the attacker, but like inside. So let's say the ball does land here. How do I can't tell. Okay, let's say the ball lands above us, right? And I've run onto it, and I've gone for it, and I've missed. Because the ball lands here instead. Now he wins the header, but because I'm next to him, there's a chance that it might bounce off my head and go out because I'm blocking it. So you want to be inside of them, goal side, and you want to try and full power it, aim, flick up, watch the ball, run onto it, flick out. Is basically how I try and do headers. You might want to ask Borger if you want better heading advice. So stay goal side, next to in between the defender and the goal, and try to judge the cross as best as you can. This tends to come with experience, so you may struggle at first, as there's different variations to crossing. There's a top spin, inverse curl, etc. It can get confusing. The main thing is to make sure you are marking an attacker and staying goal side. As you've mentioned, even if you don't win the header, there is a good chance you can deflect the header, make it an easy save, or just deflect it out of play. So he's saying, stay, even if you don't win the header, you don't get it and knock it. As long as you're next to the attacker and you stop, in between them and the goal, there's a chance that you might deflect it out of the way and make it very easy. And then some goalkeepers will tell you to be mark the posts. So you want to stand in the post on the line, and then jump and hold M1. Same for the back post, if need be. And then maybe also don't let people be open on the edge of the box. If there's only one guy here and there's one guy here, and there's 2 defenders, don't both mark the same guy. Instead, one of you should go and cover this guy, because otherwise he's got an easy shot, and that could be a goal if he's very good, or even half decent, to be fair. And I'd say for free kicks, I'm going back to my goalkeeper sort of stuff here a little bit. Right, we've got the thingy here. We've got a wall. So you can do a wall like a normal wall, and just jump and try and hope for the best. But as a goalkeeper, I actually prefer that I have people on the post. So I have, why can't I put it? There we go, one there. One there and one there. So they're covering my post and I only have to dive left or right. I don't have to move too much. Just like with the corner thing I showed you just before. And whilst this is a valid strategy, you need to bear in mind that it plays all the attackers on side, because now you're on the goal line. So if you do that, if you do mark the post on a free kick, then you have to be cautious of an attacker waiting here for, the pass. So maybe he comes, and then, oh my god, it's embarrassing. Lads, it's late. Okay, and then he goes for the shot and he scores. There you go. Okay, fuck it. Yeah, because as Cbot says, you've seen it countless times. This has happened, and the free kick takers just play the short pass, somebody on the penalty spot, and they have an easy goal. So he typically recommends forming a wall and to trust the goalkeeper to make the save. But of course, it comes down to what the team wants to do, how they set up, etc. So with passing. So for me, similar to the goalkeeper stuff, long balling, I try and do 90 to 95% power and look up. Aim high and straight as well if possible. Straight balls are much better to track, so use curve balls only if you need to do like a clever through ball. Let's say you're here and you want to get it across to your winger. You can curve it instead of, or you could just do a straight pass. If you get enough, it makes it very simple, makes it easy to follow. And also, with regards to passing, don't be afraid to pass back to your goalkeeper, pass back to your other fullback, pass if you're not the fullback, pass back to your fullback in general, pass to the CM. Look for every option available. Don't always look forward. You can look backwards, sideways, etc. Be wary of that. And as I always try to know who you can pass to before you receive the ball, so that you can get the ball and quickly make a decision, quickly pass it, or quickly take a touch, instant pass, etc. Because it's about anticipation, really. If you're thinking all the time, what am I going to do when I get this ball? Then it means that when you do get the ball, you can do whatever you want very quickly without stress. You just go, okay, I'm going to long ball it. Simple. If you're not thinking, and then suddenly you get the ball, you're like, oh shit, okay, what do I do? And you have a look around, and you're wasting time. Maybe that option's gone already. And then you've got to do something shit like pass back, So try and think before you get the ball, basically. Have an idea in your head of what you want to do with the ball before you get it. And Cbot says, there's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to passing, based on a few factors, such as how your team wants to build up, how the opponent's setting up, how the momentum of the game is going. And I think it's hard to say there's a right way to pass, because there's so many variables involved. But he says, I'm correct with the straight passing. They're much easier. These are much easier to anticipate and read. However, this is also true for the defenders on the enemy team, because if it's easy to read, so they can see where it's going quite easily. Curves can be a bit more confusing. Maybe get past the defender or something. So just bear that in mind. Curved passes have their benefits too, and allow you to pass into spaces you would not be able to with a straight pass. This comes back to his point of having an understanding of what is needed in the game at that moment. And he says that you should know what you want to do before you even receive the ball. Being one step ahead is crucial to playing at a high level. On the flip side, you should also be adaptable and be able to react to split-second changes in play. So if suddenly your passing option becomes marked or something, you should be able to adapt to it and do something else instead. So overlapping, underlapping, carrying the ball. Okay. Overlapping is when a player that is not an attacker, usually CM or fullback, runs up and becomes an additional winger, hugging the sideline, so as to overwhelm the enemy defence by making it a 2v1 and making it harder for them to defend both of you. So back to the drawing board. Here we are. We've got the team here. bit advanced. And this is the CM. Either the CM could take it wide, and now he's, an extra man. Let's say his man doesn't follow for whatever reason. He's an extra winger, so now he's in the space. He can do this, and now they've got a 3v4. Or if it's not the CM, the fullback usually will take it on, usually not getting tracked by the winger. Or if they do, regardless, they can get a cross off, and now they've got 3 people in the box, 1 man here. General rule for overlapping: don't do it if there's already 4 people in the half. Keep it at 4 max, really, because then it overcrowds the space, etc. And only try and do it if you've got somebody to cover you. So if the fullback does go up, then the CM should go and drop back and defend, take his spot, basically, to leave no gaps in the team, basically. So I'd say highly situational. If you're the fullback, don't go and do it unless there's at least these 2 defenders here who are locked in the centre like a pivot, so that they can adapt more to a 3v2 situation. So yeah, I'd say if your fullback is overlapping and the CM's decided not to cover it for whatever reason, I'd say just try and both of you come centre and sort of defend the centre, even though you've got 3 people on you now, is what I would say, sort of pivot formation. Or anchor point, I don't know what the actual technical term would be for that, but yeah. So don't do overlaps too much because it cramps space and it leaves space in behind you. Only try to do it when there's enough space. For example, when your winger goes inside towards the centre. So as an example, we'll say let's just give an example of when it doesn't work. So here's you're the right back. You've decided to go up. And then your teammate loses the ball, and then now it's easy goal because you've got to run back, and it's 3v2. So be careful with it. And then let's suppose that you've got your winger here, and he's got the ball. He runs inside, so now his fullback follows him. Now you've got all this space. Now he's and he's holding the ball. He's waiting for you or whatever. You can make a run into that space, boom, boom, boom. Crazy stuff there. Crazy stuff. You wouldn't believe it, guys. You wouldn't believe it. And the opposite of this is underlapping. So instead, let's say your winger's gone all the way to the touchline. Now you've got this little space in the middle. So you could theoretically run through the middle instead. But it's a bit tougher because usually it's a bit tighter space to deal with. So the pass has to be a bit better. But yeah, it can be very, very powerful if you can get it right. Cbot says, situational. It requires the defender to be able to make a read on the play and action it appropriately. For example, there's no need for a fullback to run forwards if there's already 4 players in the attacking third. Attacking third is this section, by the way. Furthermore, overlap should not even be considered if the winger in front of you is sat wide, as this just congests space for no reason. So he's saying if your winger is here, there's really not that much space, so you probably shouldn't go for it, because it's just going to bring this guy along with you and it's going to make the space much tighter, and your winger can't really go anywhere because he can't go here because he's got a CB here, and he can't go here because there's his fullback, and then he can't go here because you're there too. So it can be a bit confusing, a bit congested is the word he used, I believe. So yeah, be careful with it. And how offensive fullbacks play and where they make their runs, however, is generally situational, stylistic, and just depends how that team wants to build up. To use NG as an example, Hie is probably one of the most offensive threats for them from right back, and is constantly up in the attacking third. This is made possible by NG's shape and rotations, which is one of their main strengths. So they're a very fluid team. So for instance, you'd get Hie running up here to do the overlap, but then instead, maybe the CM goes back to cover him and whatnot, and then the CF drops there, and then the winger goes there, and then the other fullback goes up, and it gets very confusing, and nobody knows who to mark. It's, Andrew, what are you doing? It's very confusing to play against, etc. And then he'll be the one overlapping and do the crosses, which he's very good at. So that's how NG can tend to do it, apparently, allegedly. I'm not Cbot. I never played for NG, so alleged. Okay. And then in terms of carrying the ball as a defender, so running, dribbling with the ball, a defender can carry the ball at times, and that can be very OP. So if you think of Joel Matip from Liverpool, he'll take the ball from the fence, say here, and he'll go all the way. He'll run it all the way. His winger probably won't follow him, and then now it's a 4v3. It's a overload. And so somebody else has to come and mark him instead, and that frees somebody else up, etc. As long as there's someone to cover him. So usually Jordan Henderson would go and cover him there whilst he's gone up. And so if he's dribbling up, they've got, as the enemy team's defenders, they've got the choice of either they go and cover him, which frees somebody else up for him to pass to, or they don't cover him, and then he just goes in and goes for it. So it's a bit risky. It's very tough to play against. Good rotations are very important to a team's fluidity. You want to play like liquid, okay? You want to be water. You want to flow. People switch positions and take on a new position easily. It makes it so hard to keep up with, to mark. It's the way to go as a team, but you need to be skilled enough for that. See what it says. Having defenders that are good on the ball is definitely beneficial. However, this can be a double-edged sword, so it must be exercised with caution, as it can easily be caught out on a counter-attack if not done prudently. So if you do it too much or you do it sillily and, okay, he's taking the ball, he's trying to dribble it, and he's not a very good dribbler, and the CM takes it, problem. And that's a goal. That's not what I meant. That's a goal. To finish it off, I'm just going to read Cbot's big essay that he said. So his 2 cents on it. Which, by the way, this whole guide you can read in the description. It was in a 4,000 word document before we made it like this. I decided to make a video with examples to make it easy to explain. So, yeah. Over the course of playing iOS, you will face hundreds of different situations which all require a response. As defending, for the most part, is a reactive action, you can only react to what the opposition is doing. While the above sets good guidelines, you need to be able to make a good read on the situation and then also decide on the correct way to deal with that situation. This is why I always tell people that developing good mental attributes is extremely important, and arguably can be more important than your mechanics, to a point, of course. Being able to read a situation correctly and quickly will save you more times than being able to do 20 sombrero flicks in a row. Of course, to my point above, there is a baseline for mechanics that are essential for all players. This can only be taught through experience and playing. I generally found in my early days that 4v4 allowed me to develop my all-around game and become a better player. You can also record your own gameplay and review this back. Self-analysis has been proven many times to be one of the most efficient ways to improve. Once a basic level of mechanics has been mastered, it then comes down to developing your understanding of the game. Finding answers to those questions will help you develop and play at a higher level. For example, why does the winger keep coming inside every time? He's done me dirty there. Well, maybe on review, you notice that the winger is being afforded far too much space on the inside. You should therefore adjust your position to make this more difficult for them. Every situation you face as a defender will ask questions of you, and it is your job to find the correct answers for that question. And then, as you develop, you can start asking questions of the opponent yourself. Ooh, very, very, very deep inspirational words from our boy Cbot, the legend, the GOAT, the best defender we've ever seen. Only second to Virgil van Dijk. Okay. And of course, Myaaar and Nunes. So yeah, thank you for watching. I think that covers everything, I believe. Well, I mean, I say everything. Again, it's stylistic. There's so many things that you could change about how you want to defend or whatnot, and understanding box and positioning and going forward and overlapping and attacking as a defender and rotations. Guys, honestly, it's already bloody an hour and something long video, so I'm just gonna leave it there. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for watching. I hope it helped. Let me know if you want more, etc. Let me know if you've got any problems with it, etc. Any bad information that I'm giving out. I don't like giving out misinformation. Yeah, special thanks to all those people that helped me. And yeah, I'll see you all in the game, hopefully. Cheers.